safe for many South Africans. While we know and appreciate that the current socio-economic has directly impacted on crime levels, police have also had their hands full following the safer festive season operations to ensure the festive season was safer and more secure. Festive season interventions included heightened police patrols and operations, especially in areas where crime was likely to occur. Festive season was safer, but not the same can be said about the first 3 months of 2022. The triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment increasingly encouraged opportunistic criminal behavior. However, police have made some gains and intercepted gritty criminal syndicates involved in extortion, kidnapping, and cash-in-transit heist and drug smuggling. Unfortunately, their collective actions have not yielded the expected results. January, February, and March 2022 was especially brutal for women and children in this country. Murder, attempted murder, and assault GBH of women all recorded double-digit increases. Murder and assault GBH of children under the age of 17 years also recorded sharp increase. However, the number of attempted murders cases of children had declined with 6.8%. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 3 months of reporting, a 22.2% increase in murder was recorded. 1,107 more people were killed in South Africa between January and March compared to the same period in 2021. Out of 6,083 people killed in the country, 898 of them were women and 306 were children under the age of 17. Alarmingly, the murder of children recorded 37.2% increase in the period of reporting. Arguments, vigilantism, revenge or retaliation, and robberies remain the top 4 causative factors of this death. A total of 2,268 people were murdered in public places such as in open fields, streets, parking areas, and abandoned buildings. The second most likely place for murder to occur is at the home of the victim or of the perpetrator. 1,350 people were killed in that environment. Liquor outlets and public transport such as buses, taxis, or trains were the third and fourth most likely places to be killed in South Africa. Overall, crimes committed against a person, also known as conduct crime, increased by 15%. All sexual offenses recorded a 13.7% increase, with contact sexual offenses recorded the only decrease in this crime category. The first 3 months of this year, 10,818 people were raped in South Africa. Almost half of these cases, a staggering 4,653 rapes, took place at the home of the rape victim or the home of the rapist, mostly by a person known to the victim. Public parks, beaches, streets, open fields, parking areas, and abandoned buildings were the second most likely places to rapes to occur. Liquor was involved in 1,290 of the rapes. The Eastern Cape Lusikisiki Police Station, Inanda's station in KZN, and the Delft Police Station in Western Cape recorded the highest incidence of rape for quarter. All property-related crimes increased by 0.1%, and burglary at non-residential premises declined by 6.4%. Assault GBH have shown drastic increases, with over 6,575 more cases reported during the reporting period. 42,992 cases of assault GBH and 45,746 cases of common assault were opened with the police in the 3 months of reporting. Out of 42,992 cases of assault GBH, 1,937 were children under 17 years. Arguments, road rage intervention in fight and robberies were some of the leading causes of the assault GBH. Kidnapping. 3,306 kidnapping cases were opened with the police. This crime trend has shown a sharp increase, with over 1,700 more cases reported to the police compared to the same comparative period. Most of the kidnapping cases were hijacking, robbery, and rape related. The top 3 police stations with the highest reported kidnapping cases were Kempton Park, Herrenberg Station in Gauteng Province, and Delmas Province Station in Mpumalanga. The Gauteng Province accounts for the bulk of the kidnapping cases, recording over 1,000 more cases in the period to reporting. Ladies and gentlemen, 2022 started on a low safety note, but the question is, what went wrong? I have asked the management of the South African Police Service and the provincial commissioners of all 9 provinces the exact same question. Honestly, no answer justified these dismal figures, but we all agreed that all provinces, district clusters, and stations need to do things differently if indeed we want to see desired outcomes. The difference we speak of starts with minor to major changes. This includes improved working conditions of officers, ensure the availability of the required tools of the trade to respond to crime, and rooting out officers who choose to intentionally fail the community they are meant to serve. One thing is for sure, police alone cannot win the fight against crime. We need deeper partnership with communities, built on trust, commitment, and delivery. It is on this score that the Ministry will continue to lend support to you and your management team to aggressively restore the trust deficit that has broken down some in the community relationship, National Commissioner. After all, police officers cannot police communities they are not part of. But equally, we are aware that the trust is not bought, trust is earned. Commissioner, improved service from the police will earn back the trust and confidence of the community. In other words, creating safer communities through effective community policing is a matter of urgency. 50% of solutions to crime are through better working relations with the community. The SAPs can no longer afford to pay lip service, but must introduce accountability at station if we are to truly serve and protect this nation. This is why immediate interventions have now been put in place to address the dip in performance. Allow me to expand on some immediate interventions agreed on between the Police Ministry and the sub-management. We have adopted a police station policing approach. This means accountability will start from bottom at the station level and escalate right up to the very top. Yes, Commissioner, the station accountability plan will fully work if all station commanders are empowered and supported through by management. The station accountability plan rests on station commanders. As commanders, you are expected to know your staff, know the welfare of your members, take charge of your police stations, keep track of your tools of the trade, and maintain an overall healthy working environment for members. Lead, be firm, be committed to serving your members as they will follow the suit as you serve. Build and restore relationship between organized community structures and the broader society you serve and your members. It is a fact that the South African Police Service has thousands of hardworking and dedicated officers who on a daily basis put their lives at risk in the execution of their duties. Unfortunately, there are police officers that are failing communities. The failure often starts at the police station. This is why the Station Accountability Plan will ensure community service centers are not scenes of secondary victimization by our own. As a ministry, we are encouraged that the GBVF desks are now available at 1,154 police stations countrywide. These desks are staffed with members trained in GBF-related courses. Over 90,000 police officers have been trained in victim empowerment, domestic violence, and sexual offences-related programs. This will ensure the victim-centered service is provided with officers at police stations. We expect the immediate implementation of the Station Accountability Plan, especially at the top 30 high crime stations. This sharp focus on station will mean all station commanders will be expected to closely monitor their unique crime situations. Every 2 weeks, commanders must evaluate and put in place relevant operational plans to curb crime. Station commanders must have a place monitoring mechanism to ring the alarm in time. Senior officers from National Office deployed to top 30 high crime stations as part of the police station guidance program will be enhanced. Clear targets of crime reduction and eradication within timeframes must be met. As crime usually increases over the weekend, commanders must change their approach and must work throughout weekends. Police personnel should be saturating the streets over weekends, as this is the high noon of crime. There will be expeditious processes if and when these set targets are not achieved. The station accountability means it will not be tolerated for police stations to keep occupying the same spot as high crime stations. There simply can't be a station that doesn't perform and it is business as usual. Just number one, Lusigi forever, Lusigi Inanda Umlas. Can't be. If we are serious about rebuilding community relations, commission and management, we must clean house. Vetting and monitoring of members has to be speedily undertaken. Crime intelligence must be beefed up at station levels for effective crime fighting. The SEPs cannot be a haven for criminals disguised as officers of law. Such behavior puts policing on the back foot and further erodes the trust between communities and the police. We call on the IP to work with us on this one and deal with police officers who fail the organization and ultimately fail the nation. To mitigate this and to fail the nation, we are also calling on the management of the SEPs to take the welfare and safety of all members on board. Service delivery in the context of this organization can mean the difference between life and death. Interaction with communities on their safety concerns and policing needs through the Ministerial Imbizo program continues to assist the SEPs in improving its service to communities. This is Imbizo aim to put in place immediate and efficient improvement mechanism to deal with service delivery bottlenecks. Without fail, the complaint about the slow response of police comes up too often. This was the case when we engaged the communities of Jablane, Pimville, and Kliptown in Soweto. The same complaints arose in Lusikisiki, Eastern Cape, and Bochabelo in the Free State in the most recent weeks. It is the live experience of community members who are far too often told there are no police vans to come and attend to their policing. The police vans are usually out of action and waiting in long queues at the garages to be maintained or fixed. To mitigate this, The process of repairing SAP's vehicles is being overhauled. Conclusion, indeed, these sweeping changes we have outlined will improve service delivery, improve response times, and go a long way towards building safer communities. These are a few efforts, if implemented well, as they will be implemented, should restore confidence in the police service. Among our communities, the interventions, including the Station Accountability Plan, should yield results in the quickest possible time. All levels of policing, from constables, sergeants, warrant officers, captains, colonels, brigadiers, generals, you all have to change and together change our approach in confronting this dire crime situation. We must all say such high crime figures cannot happen under our watch. Take ownership and pride in our work. It is our collective responsibility to pull up our socks and work smarter and harder to protect South Africans and their property. All station commanders, the focus is now on you and your station, on you and your stations. Always remember, police need the community and the community needs the police. Poisa I poisa umphakathi. Work closely with the Community Policing Forum and adopt strategy that promotes community-centered policing. Everyone has a job to do. Do it and do it well. With those words, let me invite the man that carries the real story, which is not a good story, to come and tell. General Skupuni.
Thank you, Minister, National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioners, DNCs, Lieutenant Generals, members of the media, and colleagues. We'll be taking you through the Q4 crime statistics that had been reported to the police in the fourth quarter of the financial year 2022, covering the period from the 1st of January to the 31st of March. The presentation, as we know, we start with a table of contents, but we will just go into the details in terms of the table that gives an overview of the crime that have been reported to the police in the current quarter. Starting with murder, we had recorded an increase of 1,107 murders more. That is a percentage increase of 22.2. We had recorded an increase in terms of sexual offenses of 1,666, a percentage change of 13.7. We had an increase of attempted murders of 1,135, a percentage increase of 24.8. Assault GBH, an increase of 6,575, percentage increase of 18.1. Common assault increased by 6,857 or 17.6. Common robbery increased by 1,238, that is a 13.0% increase. And then robbery with aggravating circumstances increased by 2,015 counts, that is 6.5% increase. And overall, the total contact crimes increased by 20,593, resulting in a 15.0% change. The next crime categories, which are rapes, they give a breakdown of the total sexual offenses which we had already talked to in terms of the second row of the big table. So in this table, we're just giving a breakdown in terms of what are the constituent crimes in terms of the sexual offenses. Starting with the rapes, we had recorded an increase of 1,300 counts more in terms of rape. That is a 13.7% increase. Sexual assault increased by 255. Attempted sexual offenses increased by 114. Contact sexual offenses decreased by 3. And overall, the total sexual offenses, as we have indicated in the second row, they have increased by 1,666. The next subcategory is a breakdown of the subcategory of robbery with aggravating circumstances, which is row number 7 in terms of the table at the top. In this instance, we're just giving plus minus 6 of the crimes that make up that particular broad category of robbery aggravating circumstances. This is not all the crimes that sit in there, because you also have other crimes like robbery with a weapon other than a firearm, robbery with a firearm, etc. So we're just highlighting the 6 as they have been indicated that they are a constant thorn on the side of the community. So we highlight them separately, but they are captured under the robbery with aggravating circumstances already. Carjacking increased by 889 counts. That is a 19.7% increase. Robbery at residential premises decreased by 21 counts, resulting in a 0.4% decrease. Robbery at non-residential premises decreased by 172, resulting in a 3.5% decrease. Robbery of cash in transit, we had 11 counts more, from 44 to 53, resulting in 26.2% increase. Then bank robberies, we had 4 counts more, whereas in the previous comparative period we had 1, and in the current period we had 5, resulting in 4 counts more. Truck hijacking increased by 111 counts more, resulting in 31.4% increase. In the next slide, we look at we bring into focus the total population of the country, and we compute the rates against the total number of crimes that have been reported. This is a standard practice in terms of especially contact crimes, where you have to take into consideration the total population against whom the crimes had been committed. In terms of the denominator that we had used, we used the 2021 mid-year population estimates. That is the most recent data that is available from Stats SA. We then revised these population estimates going back, covering the period from 2017 up to the current period. Now, with the murders, we had 10.0. That means that if the total population of South Africa were divided into equal portions of 100,000, the probability of a person being killed within that particular 100,000 is only 10 people within 100,000. Hence, the correct reading of the figure is 10 per 100,000. Then in terms of the rapes, the chances, it's 17.9 per 100,000. For attempted murder, it's 9.4 per 100,000. Assault GBH, 71.0 per 100,000 of the population. Common assault is 75.5 per 100,000. And common robbery, 17.8 per 100,000. Then completing the table, starting with crimes termed as contact-related crimes, made up of 2 crimes, that is arson and malicious damage to property. In terms of arson, we had 178 counts more compared to the previous period, whereby we moved from 732 to 910, resulting in a percentage change of 24.3. Malicious damage to property, we had an increase of 3,799 from 24,850 to 28,649, a percentage increase of 15.3. Then the total of contact-related crimes, we had an increase of 3,977, a percentage change of 15.5. Then the subcategory of property-related crimes, we're starting with a robbery at non-residential premises. We had a decrease of 974. That is, we moved from 15,215 to 14,241, resulting in a 6.4% decrease. Burglary at residential premises, the increase was 392. Theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle, the increase was 137. Theft out of or from motor vehicle, the increase was 346. Stock theft, we had 154. And total property-related crimes increased by 55. Then moving on to other serious crimes, we had recorded decreases in terms of shoplifting of 1,305. And then looking at the crime detected as a result of police action, whereby the desired direction of change is an increase, means we had recorded increases in terms of illegal possession, drug-related crimes, driving under the influence, and the total crime detected as a result of police action increased by 10,117, which is the desired direction that we want to see. Then in terms of the breakdowns in terms of the 17 community reported crimes, what one needs to bring into context here is that as we know that we've been in the different levels of lockdown, we also need to take into consideration that we are comparing two periods that were at different levels of lockdown, and we know that the higher level of lockdown, the higher the restrictions. So in the previous financial year or in the previous comparative period, we were at adjusted level 3 in terms of the lockdown, and we are comparing it to adjusted level 1 in the current quarter, which started on the 1st of October 2021 up to the 4th of April. So what one notices is that the more the difference in terms of the lockdown levels, when you compare it to a lower lockdown levels, you find that the increase in crime is also pronounced. So if you look in January, we had 25,602 increase in terms of the 17 community reported crimes. Then in February, we had an increase of 5,392. And then in the month of March, as the lockdown levels converged towards adjusted level 1, we had an increase of 1,473. In terms of the provincial contribution to the 17 community reported crimes, Gauteng contributed 28% of the 17 community reported crimes, Western Cape contributed 19%, KZN contributed 16%, Eastern Cape contributed 11%, and collectively the 4 provinces that I've mentioned contributed 73% to the total of the 17 community reported crimes. Then in terms of the top 30 stations, in terms of the 17 community reported crimes, what we can indicate there is that 12 of the stations that are in the 17 community reported crimes are in the province of Gauteng, 7 in the Western Cape, 7 in KwaZulu-Natal, and the provinces of Free State, Northwest, Eastern Cape, and Mpumalanga contributed 1 station each in the top 30 17 community reported crimes. And these stations was Park Road in the Free State, Rustenburg in Northwest, East London in the Eastern Cape, and then Mpumalanga in Witbank. Then now moving on to the contact crimes. The contact crimes in the current quarter, we had recorded an increase of 20,593. Again, when you do the percentage contribution per province, the Gauteng province contributed 28%, Western Cape 17%, KZN contributed 16.9%, Eastern Cape 10.7%. And similarly to what we have observed in the 17 community reported crimes, these 4 provinces contributed 73% to the total of the contact crimes that have been reported in the current quarter. And all the provinces have recorded an increase in terms of the contact crimes. Then the top 30 stations, 14 of the stations are in the Gauteng province. Western Cape had 8, KZN had 7, and Limpopo had 1 station, which is Thohoyandou at number 30. The top 30 contact crime station contributed 14% to the national total, and only 5 stations recorded a decrease in terms of the contact crimes. Oops. Then looking at the causative factors from a sample of the cases that had been reported to the police, focusing mostly on the murders, we had a sample size of the murders of 5,226, where we tried to establish where are the contributory places of occurrence where these murders had occurred. The table there covers attempted murder and assault GBH, but for the sake of the presentation, I will only focus on the murder. The residence of the perpetrator was the second highest contributing place in terms of where the murders had occurred. The first was the public places, that is in a street, open field recreation center, contributed 2,268. The third highest contributor was in a mode of transport, either a bus or a taxi or a car, contributing 184. Number 4 highest contributor was at liquor outlets, that is either a shebeen, a tavern, a pub, nightclub, or a bottle store, which contributed 156 in terms of the places of occurrence. Then at number 5, we had agricultural land, plot, or small holdings with 78, and the business premises, which are, there's a possibility that they might have taken place together with the robbery at the non-residential premises, contributing 63 of the murders. I think I might have missed something. When we're looking at the, I think this slide I had already talked to. Let me go on to the murder. In terms of the murders, we had recorded increases across all the 9 provinces, and the month of January was the most, where we had an increase of 872. In February, we had an increase of 104, and in the month of March, as the lockdown levels converged, we had an increase of 131. In terms of percentage contribution by the provinces, the province of KZN contributed 26% of the murders. Next was Gauteng with 23% to the murders. Eastern Cape 17%, Western Cape 17%, and these 4 provinces contributed 83% to the totals of the murders that had been committed. Then when we take into consideration the population size in the respective provinces and do the per capita murder, the province with the highest per capita murder is the province of the Eastern Cape with 15.7 murders per 100,000, Western Cape second with 14.1 per 100,000, KwaZulu-Natal with 13.6 per 100,000, and the province of Gauteng at number 4 with 8.8 per 100,000 of the murders. And the rest of the provinces you can see from that particular table. Then in terms of the top 30 stations, we can mention that the top 3 stations in terms of murder are stations that are in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, led by Umlazi, Inanda, and Plessis Layer. Then from the next 5 are all from the province of the Western Cape, led by Harare at number 5, Harare at number 4, Kraaifontein number 5, Delft number 6, Mfuleni at number 7, Khayelitsha at number 8, and then we had a station from Gauteng at number 9, which is Kagiso, and then at number 10 we had a station in the Eastern Cape, which is Mthatha, making up the top 10 murder stations. Then when we look at the provincial breakdown in terms of the causative factors that had been identified, we observe that we have already indicated that 875 murders had been indicated to have resulted from arguments. The Western Cape had the highest number, attributing the murders to arguments with 205. Then number 2 was KZN with 199. Gauteng province was number 3 with 132. Then in terms of the robberies leading to murders, we had 262 of the robberies resulting in murder, led by KZN with 85. And then number 2 was Gauteng with 57. Number 3 was the Western Cape, where the robberies also resulted in a murder with 40. And number 4, we had Eastern Cape with 27. Taxi-related murders, we had both Gauteng and the Western Cape, indicating that 9 murders in each of these provinces were attributable to taxi-related, and KZN indicating that 8 of the murders were attributable to taxi-related violence. Then when in the next slide we look at the instances whereby it has been confirmed that alcohol or drugs were used prior, during the commission of selected crime types. The top table indicates instances whereby it was confirmed that the alcohol or drugs had been consumed either by the perpetrator or the victim or witnesses or both parties that are involved in the commission of the crime. 156 murders had been indicated that the alcohol was used, and 13 of these murders it was indicated that drugs were used. Attempted murder, 157 where alcohol was used, and 18 attempted murders where drugs were used. Rapes, 1,290 rapes had been confirmed that alcohol was used, and then 143 of the rapes indicated that drugs were used. Assault GBH, 3,810 assault GBH was indicated that the perpetrator or the victim has used alcohol prior to the commission of the crime, and 140 of the assault GBH, the perpetrator had used drugs. Confirmed places, in the first instance, we look at the use of drugs and alcohol. In the lower section, we are looking at places where it has been confirmed that this place is selling alcohol and these crime types happened in that facility. We had 156 murders having been confirmed to have taken place either at a tavern, Shebeen pub, or a nightclub. 198 attempted murders took place at such facilities. 59 rapes took place at such facilities, and 1,944 assault GBH took place either at a tavern, a Shebeen, a pub, or a nightclub. Then moving on to the murders, covering now the murders of police officials. We have had 27 murders of police officials having been recorded in the current quarter, of which 7 of these murders happened while the members of the police service were on duty, and 20 having happened while they are off duty. An overall increase of 3 counts more in terms of police officers that were murdered. From 2020-2021, we had 24 murders. Currently, it has increased to 27, an increase of 3 murders more of police officials. Then looking at the crime that are taking place within the farming community, we had 12 murders having happened in the current quarter when we compared to the previous quarter, which resulted in an increase of 1 count more in terms of a murder at the farming institution. In the previous quarter we had 11, current quarter we had 12. The increase there is 1. Then moving on to the rapes. Again, the trend, as we have seen with all the other crime that we have seen, is that when you have higher levels of lockdown compared to lower levels, there tend to be an increase in terms of the crime that had been committed at the higher level lockdown when you compare it to a lower level lockdown, due to, among others, the restrictions that are applicable at the higher level lockdown as compared to a lower level lockdown, including, among others, the limited hours in terms of which alcohol can be sold, and also the restriction in terms of the movement of the people. Because you must remember that in terms of relative activities theory, for a crime to happen, you need three sides of the triangle to converge: a motivated offender, a place with lack of guardianship, and a potential victim who's not aware of his surroundings. So the lockdown levels remove one of the sides of the triangle, so the triangle cannot come together for the crime to happen. So the lockdown levels do contribute in terms of the figures that we are observing. With that analogy, we can see that in January, we had an increase in terms of the rapes of 1,309. In February, the increase was 232. And in March, when the levels of lockdown converge, we had an increase, the decrease of 331. In terms of the percentage contributions per province, the Gauteng province contributed 21% to the murders, KZN 19% to the rapes, Eastern Cape 17% to the rapes, Western Cape 12%, and overall these four provinces contributed 70% to the total rapes that have been reported in the country. Then, taking into consideration the population within the respective provinces, the Eastern Cape had the highest per capita rape in terms, recording 27.6 per 100,000, Free State 24.2 per 100,000, Northern Cape 20.4 per 100,000, and Northwest 18.5 per 100,000. The rest of the provinces can be observed from there, and Gauteng had the lowest in terms of per capita with 14.2 per 100,000. Then the top 30 stations, as the Minister has indicated, they are led by Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape, Inanda at number 2 in KwaZulu-Natal, Delft at number 3, Thohoyandou in Limpopo at number 4, and Plessis Liar in KwaZulu-Natal making up the top 30 in the top 30 stations for rape. Then the places of occurrence for rape, most of the rapes from the sample that we had drawn of 7,031, which contributed 65% of the total rapes that had been reported to the police, it was observed that most of these rapes, that is 4,653, had occurred at the residence of the perpetrator or a victim, including residence known by the victim, perpetrator, or family member. The second highest place where the rapes occurred was in the public places, street, open field, recreational facilities, and abandoned buildings, contributing 1,101 at number 2. Then we also had rapes that had taken place at educational institutions. That is, 88 of these rapes had been indicated to have occurred at educational institutions, whereby without we indicated that of these 88, 10 took place at a daycare facility, 75 happened at schools, and 3 of these rapes happened at tertiary institutions. Then looking at the selected contact crimes against women and children, we had indicated that the women, which covers female from 18 years and above, the murder increased by 134, attempted murder by 297 increase, assault GBH 2,414, and in terms of children, that is the ages from 0 up to and including 7 years, covering both boys and girls, we had an increase of 83 in terms of the murders. The attempted murders, the reduction was 24, resulting in 6.8, and then assault GBH, an increase of 218, resulting in a 12.7% increase. Then looking at the domestic violence, focusing mostly on those contact crimes, these are instances whereby it had been indicated that there is a relationship or a domestic relationship between the victim and the perpetrator that can either be a husband, wife, ex-husband, ex-girlfriend, uncle, brother, etc. These are instances whereby it had been confirmed that there is such a relationship between the victim and the perpetrator. Now, we have had 197 of these murders that were termed to have taken place in such a setting where there's a relationship. Of these murders, 134 were female and 63 were male. And the province that had recorded the highest in terms of the murders that were domestic related was Western Cape with 42 and the Eastern Cape with 42. Then we had 665 rapes attributable to domestic violence. The highest was the Western Cape with 162. Number 2 was Gauteng with 135. And then Eastern Cape at number 3 with 100. And the victims were 638 females and 27 male. Then in the next slide, we looked at kidnappings. I think it's one of those crimes that increased across the 3 months of the first quarter, that is in January, February, and March. Whereas in the others, we had observed that the increases were mostly in the month of January, reducing in the month of February and coming closer, or even sometimes leading to a reduction in the month of March. We had recorded increases across all the 9 provinces, with most of the cases having been reported in Gauteng with 1,563, KwaZulu-Natal at number 2 with 703, and then number 3 was Mpumalanga with 304, and overall we had an increase in terms of kidnappings of 1,726 counts more compared to the previous period. Then in terms of the kidnapping top 30 stations, 22 of these stations were in the province of Gauteng, and then we had 7 in the province of KwaZulu-Natal and 1 in the province of Mpumalanga. Now, in terms of the circumstances or causative factors in terms of the kidnapping, in some instances, one needs to take into cognizance that this kidnapping is likely the modus operandi during the commission of a particular crime. For instance, when the target is the car, but in some instances the driver is also taken so that he or she cannot immediately report the car to be hijacked. So we both count both the hijacking and the kidnapping because the person was denied freedom of movement. So when you look at these numbers, always take into consideration that in some instances this kidnapping could have been the modus operandi, whereby the big prize was the crime that we had indicated, for instance, hijacking. And without going down into the numbers, we had a sample of 2,849. Of these 2,849, I think around 200 or so, we couldn't find the circumstances around which the kidnapping happened. But of those that we could find the circumstances, and when we look at the percentage contribution, we found that hijacking related was the highest in terms of kidnapping, which was 45% contribution. Robbery related was 18%, that is 465. Then rape related was 11% in terms of contribution. Retaliation was also 11%, and then taxi related kidnappings was 1%. Then the rest of the crimes that had happened with the kidnapping are also indicated in the table there. Then looking at the trio crimes, we had recorded decreases in the Free State and the Northern Cape and the Western Cape province. We must keep in mind that the trio crimes is your robbery residential and robbery non-residential plus carjacking. We had already indicated them in the big table when we talked about the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances. So I will just skip most of these slides because we had already indicated this particular crime types. Then on this slide we had the carjacking, which is one of the crimes within the trio crimes. We had 23 stations in the top 30 from Gauteng. Western Cape had 4 stations, KZN 2, and Mpumalanga had 1 station. Then robbery at non-residential premises. We had the Eastern Cape and the Northwest being the only 2 provinces that had recorded increases in terms of robbery at non-residential premises. And then these are the top 30 stations for robbery at non-residential premises, led by Johannesburg Central, East London at number 2, Devon Central at number 3, Jamestown at number 4, and Honeydew at number 5, making the top 5 robbery at non-residential premises station. Then at the robbery at residential premises, we had an increase in the month of January, followed by decreases in the month of February of 45 and 84 respectively. Then the provinces that had recorded increases was Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Northwest. Then we had the top 30 stations at robbery residential premises. The top 3 stations are from the province of KwaZulu-Natal, led by Plessis Liar, Inanda, and Kwaduguza, followed by 2 stations from Gauteng, that is Tembisa and Diepsloot, making the top 5. Then robbery of cash in transit. We had an increase in the month of January, and then another increase in the month of February of 2, and then in the month of March we had a reduction of 3 when compared to the same period in the previously comparative period. Then most of these cash in transit happened in the province of Gauteng with 22, and then KwaZulu-Natal was second with 10, and overall we had 53 counts of cash in transit robberies. Then the top 30 stations in terms of cash in transit, the top 5 stations are all from the province of Gauteng, with number 1 at Diepsloot, number 2 Olivenhout-Bosch, number 3 Westonaria, number 4 Eden Park, number 5 Diepkloof, making up the top 5 stations. Then we also look at the crime of stock theft, because it had been indicated in the previous releases that this was going up. So in the month of January, we had an increase of 128 of stock theft, an increase of 39 in February, and a reduction of 13 in the month of March. And the Eastern Cape, Gauteng, and the Western Cape all recorded decreases in terms of the stock theft. And the top 30 stations were led by a station in KwaZulu-Natal called Imbenje. Number 2, we had Mthatha, and then number 3, we had again KwaZulu-Natal with Amangwe. Number 4, we had BG in the Eastern Cape, and number 5, KwaZulu-Natal again with Ndabamhlophe. Those making up the top 5 stations in terms of the top 30 stations for stock theft. Then in this slide, we looked at what we called, or what we termed, core diversions of the police resources, in terms of that these are not necessarily crimes, but they require the police to go and manage and make sure that people behave appropriately when they gather in these instances, thus depleting or taking away the resources from the primary focus, which is to prevent and try to bring the crime levels down. Now, when you look at the green in terms of that particular slide, those are what we called unrest-related incidents, and the blue are the peaceful incidents. Now, when you add the two across all the 9 provinces, we had 2,000 240 incidents which were either unrest or peaceful, which required the presence of the police to go and manage, thus taking the resources away from the primary mandate to prevent crimes. Then collectively, those that were termed as unrest related, we had 600 such incidents which required that should be policed by the police. And 1,640 were regarded as peaceful. And the table there provide a provincial breakdown in terms of those incidents that were regarded as unrest and those that were regarded as peaceful. The highest was in the Gauteng province with 131, which is regarded as unrest-related incidents, and those that were peaceful was 425. KwaZulu-Natal had 92 that were unrest, and then 400 were termed as peaceful. And that, Minister, National Commissioner, DNCs, members of the media, concludes the briefing of the Q4 crime statistics covering the period from January up to March. But as we know, as it has been the norm, this presentation together with the longer version will be uploaded on the SAPS website together with the drop-down tables covering all the stations and all the crimes that had been reported in the borders of the country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Thank you very much, Minister, for those opening remarks as well. We now go to the second part of our press conference, which is the Q&A session. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, please identify yourself, the media house that you represent, and of course, the question and who the question is posed to. I'll take some questions by a show of hands, please. I do see a hand behind the camera, so I'm not sure. I can't see the face. Okay, SABC, anyone else? All right, we've got newsroom. In that order, please. We'll take the first round of questions. Go ahead, Stimo.
Social compact that we have in the South African society to ensure defend and protect them. What is your active call for you to revise? Another one is to what do you attribute the constant failure, especially in the fight against violent crime? We know that for the previous quarters, murder has been quite stable in terms of policing. What would you attribute that to? And the third question, Minister, you've raised some historical challenges which the police have faced over time, which you've raised, like the issue of the vehicles having to take time to be repaired and all that. Do you have maybe a turnaround time as to when this issue can be addressed permanently, as it keeps arising every quarter?
All right, that was offensive, Stimo, from the SABC Minister, who forgot to introduce himself. But just to give a reminder to my colleagues of the media, we do have the provincial commissioners as well as the national commissioner who are happy to take some questions. Malungelo, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Malungelo. We're from Newsroom Africa. I think anyone really can answer these questions, but I'm keen to hear from the minister as well on this station accountability plan. What exactly is it, Minister? What does it entail? Are you telling us that all these years there was no station accountability plans? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this. And are you also surprised by the increase of these numbers, considering the fact that, I mean, in many communities, and this is something that you have actually said that people don't trust the police. Are you then surprised by these numbers? Inanda continues to be the murder capital. I hope I'm getting that correct. And Lusikisiki continues to be the rape capital of this country. I'm hoping that the provincial commissioners of these two provinces can actually address us on exactly what is it that they're doing in dealing with this problem. Because year in and year out, Lusikisiki and Inanda are singled out as problematic areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Malungelo. Unfortunately, the two provincial commissioners that you're referring to are not here.
Oh.
But I am pretty sure that when they do release their provincial crime statistics, that question will be posed and thoroughly answered. But I think it doesn't stop us from also just taking your other questions, Malungelo. Can I just see a show of any other hands? So we do have another round. All right. Let's maybe just take those first two questions. Okay, we'll take that one. We'll take what have you just now, and then we'll open it up.
Minister, these are really harrowing statistics. It shows brazen crime that's really going unheard in the country. What is the real issue? Is it a capacity issue? Is it corruption within SAPS? Or is the leadership willing to admit that they're failing in curbing crime in the country? And maybe Minister, just an update as well. I remember over a week ago, you said you were on solid ground when it came to the murder of Nam Sampa and getting the culprit arrested. Maybe give us an update on how far you are in getting accountability and arrest to the person that murdered Nam Sampa. Thank you.
All right, let's take those questions, Minister and Generals.
National Commission will answer on Namhla. Unfortunately, both the KZN and Eastern Cape are not here. It would have been good to get it from the horse's mouth, especially with Namhla. I thought we'll also ask about Hillary. The provincial commissioner is here from Mpumalanga. The failing of the social compact by either the minister or ministry or the department. I'm sure some of you were in the first briefing meeting with the portfolio committee, where everybody agrees that we need to. It would have been nice to see this person who asked that question, where everybody agreed that we need to go broader in dissection and really finding in the bone what's the story here. Maybe your question goes together with the social issues here. Look at these statistics. 10,000 people raped, almost half of them. Look where they raped. Look where they raped. 10,400 and 4,600, which is almost half, are raped in the houses where they live, are raped by the people that they're supposed to defend them, the uncles, the fathers, the brothers, even grandfathers. So now, I wonder if it is very fair to say that's a failure of the police when Umshana is raped by the uncle in the middle of the night in the same house, same room where they all spend their life. So this is half of people raped, by the way. Not just a small number, half of them. What we need to find out, do police respond after that? Because I can assure you, it will be very difficult for the police to prevent the rape in the bedroom where Umshana and the uncle live together. So maybe making South Africans as a whole, that's a question you should ask. Where is the social compact of South Africans with themselves and all other structures that exist in the government and in the society, or NGOs, the churches and everybody? Is everybody carrying enough weight? Is everybody putting the shoulder on the wheel when it comes to these things of when people, instead of protecting those people, harming them? Let's take the issue of murders. Here is father, for some reason, you wake up, you buy, if you bought it, the energy drink, and you give it to your children, they really all die. If you go to Mahlabatini, I'm not going to mention the family. This father takes the gun, he shoots the mother, and the mother phones the sons to say, your father is killing me. They come running, he shoots them both dead. And he shoots himself dead. And remember, all those people are mentioned as murders. Those are murders. And you begin to wonder, what would police done with the father poisoning? He's not the first one. You remember in Mpumalanga, the mother who killed 4 and all that. So if you look the figures too of murder, yes, more they happen out there in public, but there is a huge number, more than 1,000, of people that die in their own houses or in the houses of the people they know. So we need to really work closer and very close, all of us, in this question of a special murder and rape, assault, sexual assault on women. Police must respond, but I agree too that we must work on the preventative measures altogether. Maybe hence the document of the integrated approach against the violent crimes that has been produced and agreed by the cabinet, that will be discussed, where the crime will be fought across the government, the government department and the society at large. I wanted to say that, well, calling the minister to resign. Well, I had one person this morning who used to be a police when I was a commissioner. I was his commissioner. Maybe he got some gripe there of things that he did not do. He was supposed to build a police station in Nzuze. He was a supply chain manager and did not build police station. Ask him, where are the police stations that he was supposed to build for us to be in better position today? That would be station accountability. Commission will add on that one. But station accountability has been always there, but not in a sufficient way. Let's take this thing, Malumelo. Most of station commanders are off over weekend. We say no, it can't be. If you check the crime patterns of South Africa, they start Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, until Sunday morning. There where you find that crime pattern is up. So why station commander would not be at the station in that particular time, where is mostly needed by the communities? It started there. We are calling the station commanders to be able to check the direction of the crime in 2 weeks. We come to you quarterly in 3 months. So we must be able to say, because of the information supplied by the station commander, to say, but you are getting off the way in 2 weeks. 3 months is too long. So that kind of accountability. Station commander, you go to some stations, you ask, where is police so-and-so? And station commander looks around, and he doesn't know that Malungelo, Sergeant Malungelo, is not at the station. So you must know as they come, you must know as they go, and you must know even their welfare. If you are station commander, you are parentis in loco. You are parents to those people that you work to, you are parent to that community. One thing that we have discovered mostly as we go to Izimbizo, communities, they say they don't know station commanders. They only know station commanders when the minister and the national commissioner come. Say, oh, is this our station commander? We say station commanders must have a very dynamic relationship with the communities. Go there, find out what's the story and all. Very few stations, Nyanga is one of those stations, where people, they said, please never take away this station commander, because this station commander is us and we are this. I think it's that one, Michel Spain, few of them. We say all station commanders must be protected by their communities by saying, this work for us, no ways we let it go. So is that kind of the accountability Commissioner can add on that one. The real issue, Avio, I think, is a part of the explanation. I tried really to explain, especially on these two. But somebody also spoke about the history of these matters. 2010, there were 195,000 members of the South African police. 195,000. And there were 50 million South Africans. 2022, there are 60, I'm told, almost 63 million South Africans. We have 176,000 members. 195, 50 million, 176, 63 million. So you can see at the ratio. Somebody was asking, where did you get the police in 2010 for the visibility that you saw all over? Because there were 195,000. There are 176,000 now. So that number, that shrinking number, means that we don't have visibility, which is a big portion of policing. You know yourself. When you see the blue light, you recheck yourself. So that kind of visibility, thanks to the President and the Minister of Finance, who have really pumped the money on that one. I think we are correcting it. We've got 10,000 as we speak that are in the colleges now, that will come out on the 15th of December, and they'll be deployed in different units of the South African Police. 4,000 of them, they are going to the POP. Unfortunately, is the last slide that you raised, that those figures and those nyalas and all, they spend more time accompanying you as you are having the placards, rather than doing the actual work down there. The other thing is a question of, you raise the keeping of the car and keeping the cars on the road. The person responsible for the running of those things is Deputy National Commissioner Vuma, seated there. Maybe can explain what did I mean by overhauling, of dealing with keeping the cars the shortest possible time. Actually, we're talking about 3 days. We're talking about 3 days. At the present moment, our cars take 3 months at the garage, 3 months. So we're saying the maximum 3 days, and make sure that at the particular station, 90% of the cars, at worst, 70% of the cars are on the road, and only 10% or 30%. But this thing of 30% on the road and 70% in garage must come to an end. And police are working on those. And the stations must look at that, but the nation must look at it. But also, last on this point, all these national divisional commissioners and deputies are assigned to top 30 problematic stations to go and guide them. At least get out of the offices, be there and work with those stations, guide them, find the way out, and guide those station commanders, rather than them only reporting. But they must be able themselves from the national office to go and see what is happening. Those are the changes that we are working to be more closely and see the crime as getting out of hand in a much quicker time. Thank you.
Thanks, members of the media, Minister of Police and colleagues. With regard to the investigation of the case in Namhla, we are still busy with the investigation. Our objective is definitely to investigate and arrest, not the other way around. We want to investigate the case thoroughly so that we know that when whoever we arrest, we take him to court, we have got a solid, strong case. We know that we have prioritized the case, but we will get there. With regard to other matters, we embarked on a crime combating operation since 1st of April, and we definitely confident that there will be a difference that will come. I'm sure if you look at the presentation, slide 6 and slide 9, that talks about the 17 community reported crimes as well as the conduct crimes. You have seen that as you get to February, March, there is quite a lot of reduction in crime. So we are on the right track, and we definitely, with this operation that we have embarked upon, will definitely make a difference. With regard to the accounting of station commanders, not that they were not accounting before, they were accounting, but we're just changing the process a bit. You would remember we moved from clusters to district, so there will be accountability session of the station commanders by the district commissioners, and the same goes with where the provincial commissioner will call the station commanders as well as the district commissioners to come and account. But at the same time, we do not want to keep them in meetings too long or for the whole week. They should account once a week, and the rest of the time they must go out and fight crime. It is unfortunate at some point that they go along with, I'm sure you have seen in Tongat most of this week, in Tongat in KwaZulu-Natal, there was a protest of water almost every day, where the chunk of our workforce are busy with taking care of those people that are protesting. But of course, we know that it's part of our work. We will continue doing that. But some of those other problems that emanate from other sectors of society end up being problems of the police. But yes, provinces like KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape, they do still have extra personnel that are working in those provinces to assist in the combating of crime. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's maybe start wrapping up our conversation today and take the last round of questions. Let me just check with the GCIS if there are any questions on WhatsApp.
Thanks, Laurence. There are a couple of questions on WhatsApp. The first question is coming from the local Ministerial. The question is, cash in transit robberies have increased by 26%, and the truck are increasing by 31%. How does the Minister explain this, and what is the SAPS going to tackle these types of crime? And is SAPS working with business organizations to address these problems? And we have questions from Nambu Khan from Jacaranda FM. And the first question is that the Minister has been briefed on the alleged kidnapping and theft that occurred at the President's farm in 2020. And he said, I'm aware it only came to light recently, but the Minister preview to details of the investigation. Still in line with that question, in a statement this week, the Presidency said the matter had in fact been reported to the head of the Presidential Protection Unit of the SAPS for investigation, and the Minister confirmed this. And the following question question, is there any clarity yet on what is driving the spike in mass murders in parts of Cape Town, including Khayelitsha? And can we get a sense of what is being done to deal with those crimes? And there's a question that relates to Senzo Mayor case, and the case is, the question is the testimony of forensic officer Sergeant Tabo Sia at the Senzo Mayor trial has cast some doubt on capacity and training of officers processing crime scenes, including murder scenes. Is this a fair reflection of the entire system? And can the minister take the country into confidence in this regard? And the last question is coming from Martin Adams, who's a freelancer. The question is, how many of the murders are due to firearms? And is our police officers well equipped enough to deal with such levels of violence? And why is no recruits passing the police college but failing in the field? And as the Ministerial seen this trend. Over to you, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. I do have a question that has also just come in, and it is directed to the Provincial Commissioner of the Western Cape. He's asking, can you confirm that a number of police officers in Cape Town have had to stop wearing uniforms and change work routines due to being targeted by criminals, especially those who are said to be involved in extortion of businesses, General Bheki Cele? Currently, the public cannot rate the police. He says this would assist to improve the service offered by the SAPS, as the police would know exactly what issues need to be addressed. Police imbizo are not enough. Is the minister planning to introduce something like this in the nearer future? There is that one question for General Bheki Cele, but I think the last question, from my understanding, is a bit confused. I will get some clarity on that. But those are the questions, Minister and Generals.
CIT and the like could be answered by the police, led by the commissioner here. Why is cool? President, and the case reported to me, no. There are no cases that are reported to me. Nobody reports cases to me. They investigate, take them to court, and many of those cases, I will see them now in a court. So this one is open a few days ago. We have all seen there. So, but like all other cases, will be investigated. But this national commissioner and these hawks don't report to me which case and who are they investigating. I usually hear from them when they give the reports to the portfolio committee that we're investigating 32,000. And so people must disperse this notion to say that the minister knows about investigation of cases and who are about to be arrested. We have been trying to put that thing there time and again. It's not happening that way, including this one, President. The guns, and I'll answer that. You will add Provincial Commissioner Cape Town. The guns in Khayelitsha. You know, this question of guns and mass killing. Illegal firearms must be found by the police through the operations and all that. But the legal firearms kill people. Those that have firearms licenses, they argue and say it's not true. Almost all guns that are illegal, they come out of shop as legal firearms. And most of the house robberies, the most lucrative asset there is a gun. So they steal these guns and they are converted. But even the guns that are legal, like I'm talking about the father who shot the family in Matlabatin, is a legal firearm, we're told. But unfortunately, it's not the South African phenomenon. It's becoming some international phenomenon. I hope one day we'll have a opportunity to compare these mass killings, including the countries well-known, well-respected, well-loved, like America, where mass shootings there. I don't know if you know that from January to May, 214 mass shootings happened in the United States. 214, including the 23 killings of 19 students and 2 teachers. So guns are dangerous. Guns should be kept. Guns should be given to people that are responsible. That includes the police, who themselves sometimes are irresponsible by allowing their guns to be used by criminals, either give those guns to them or either stolen from them. So it's important that we forever rethink the question of guns, because they kill. It kills whether it's legal or illegal. Legal guns don't shoot water. They still kill. So it's important that those that get guns are people that are responsible. And I want to say, people that are responsible with guns, they need to really be given a serious accountability and serious consequences, because you are causing extra death by being careless with the firearm. The rest will be the commissioner, and I guess provincial commissioners have something to patch on this one.
With regard to the matter around the CITs, yes, they did come down, and we did decentralize teams that were national that we had, and it's picking up, but we cannot have every time centralized teams nationally. We have reinforced the current teams that are dealing with all robberies, which we call trio crimes, at provincial level. So we expect to see some improvement in that regard, because they are not solely going to concentrate on cash in transit. It will be cash in transit and other related business robberies. Training, yes, police are trained. We are quite confident in terms of our training. Members are trained in forensic services. There is no member that is deployed to deal with crime scenes who has not been trained. They are quite trained. Issue around mass murders, I think the minister spoke about. We do arrest. We have got our suspicions in terms of what is it about, but until we establish the real motives, we cannot now go out and say these are the real motives, but we do have suspicions in terms of what is happening around those mass murders, which mostly are caused through the use of firearms. And of course, most of them, the mass murders, you find either there are township gangs involved, which have got a lot of ulterior motives in terms of what is it all about. Yeah, I think those were the questions. Thank you.
Yes, General Pategile, could you just take those questions that were directed to you? And then after that, we will take the last question from the SABC, I believe, and then we'll bring this press conference to a close.
Thank you, Program Director, the Minister of Police, General Cele, the National Commissioner, General Semura, Deputy National Commissioners President, General Fuma and General Njinga, and the Provincial Commissioners. The National Commissioners answered partly the first question of the mass killings in the Western Cape, particularly in Kailicha. And as we said, we have our suspicions on many of the motives behind it. But what we've discovered from those that we have arrested, as we said, the extortions are related to that, and the drugs and the theft terrains. It's part of from what we have arrested. Of course, there are many other variables that are coming into play in different ways. As we know in the Western Cape, that taxi violence, as was also put in here, is one of the problems in the mass shootings. What are we doing about it? We've deployed more policemen on the ground in those areas, and you may also understand that some of the areas where these incidents are happening during the night, you can't walk, it's dark, but what we've done now, mobilizing communities in those areas as community patrollers and assisting us to assist us in those particular areas where we can't walk during the night and it's dark. And secondly, with the civil society in Kailicha in particular, which is very cooperative and assisting, we're looking at plans that very soon we might have a summit, a crime summit, that will look at the causes and everything in Kailicha and how we go forward with it. But I must say, as much as we get these shootings, it takes time to solve, but we do get the cooperation from the community, and it end up with arrests in many of those. Now, coming to the second question about policemen taking the off uniforms as they get into public transport, afraid of extortions when they move. We've come up with a situation that where we're now fetching our own members and we're using our own vehicles when to and from work. But again, there are those that are using their own transport getting to work. It's a question of whether are they all wearing uniform getting to work, or do they wear uniform when they get to work, because we also have lockers in the offices, wardrobes where you can change. So the question is I don't know if you're saying that they're afraid to wear uniform in public spaces. The answer would be no, but if they're getting to the transport, to say the trains, if they were the trains and taxis, there could be that because your person that you arrested yesterday is in that same taxi. So, but at this stage, we've come up with a plan to fetch our own members and take them to and from work. Thank you, Minister.
From provincial commissioners, when you asked what went wrong, that you got these crime stats was not satisfactory. What is the answer that you got from provincial commissioners when you asked exactly what went wrong that such crimes are so high? And I heard you say that police officers need to be in a conducive working environment for them to provide proper results. I want to know, weeks back there was a report of a police station in Karangua, I believe, that has been without electricity, I think, for like 8 months. So what is an update on that? What has happened ever since that station has been in that dire situation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Timo. With your permission, Minister, maybe the Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng could give us an update on the Karangua station. And then we wrap it up with the Minister, who will take the last questions around what you heard from your Provincial Commissioners. Over to you, General Noeda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, our National Commissioner, the DNCs, my colleagues, and members of the media. The issue of Karangua, as we all know that the people who are responsible for the infrastructure of the SAPS is Department of Public Works. Yes, we are quite aware of what may be the reasons for electricity leakage. The matter is already escalated to them, so that they must attend to those. As we also know that it takes some time, there is processes which they are following, the procurement processes of which we can't interfere on those. But currently, excuse me, the matter is on top of their priority list. We hope and believe that it will be resolved very soon. But in the meantime, what is that which we have done? We, as the management of the SAPS, we have made available additional generators. Currently, we have 3 generators so that we can alternate those generators, because once you use a generator for 24/7, it gets burnt out. So we have provided them with additional 2 generators. They are having 3 so that they can alternate those ones. Thank you.
Nongoma police station, I think for a year now, they don't have water. And I've said to the mayor of Nongoma, I am thinking of shifting those police officers to other stations. Some of these matters, because of the working of government, it's unfortunate that as you get in the station and you see a station that is falling apart, you simply say, what are these police doing? And it's not police job. Is other sister department, especially public works, to look on after of all departments, the government departments, including the police. Sometimes you'll have a problem. We are told in the morning that you have been already evicted because you did not pay the electricity, and find that the department has paid the electricity to the Department of Public Works, but they have not paid it to the landlord. So last week there was a big meeting by the Portfolio Committee and the Minister of Police and the Minister of Public Works, and we have been given some steps, some instructions to follow to try and fix those things. Police stations, you see, are built under the stewardship of the Public Works. Sometimes take too long and all that. So those are the things that are being corrected. As you say, you are not in satisfaction. Some of the things are not even for the management of the South African police. Is them to talk to their sister departments, to their sister director generals, to say, please, can you fix those things? But some of them themselves, they need to fix. For instance, this thing of ensuze, you break a window pane, and they must apply to Pretoria, Massimo, to fix the glass window. Those are things that have and should come to an end. As we speak, for instance, the top 30 most crime stations, we are giving them an immediate budget to use as a station. and I think we've put R1 million, 100 million rand for those stations. Others have 4 million, others have 5, others have 10, to look after the station as per this thing happening before they run on bigger things. To look after the relationships between the communities and the police stations. So these are the things that we are fixing, trying to avail the resources so that they are able to respond quicker without breaking the law, without taking too long just to fix a window in a station in Zakeni in Lady Smith, when that could be done on the next day. So those are the things. But one thing that one was raising is the question of really fixing the cars. The answers have not been said, because we have been dealing with this matter since we came on this term, to say, but we can't have cars that spend their time in garage and all that. So that's a thing that you deal with. But generally, the welfare of the police is one big thing that, as the ministry and the management were taking up, to know what is an issue with the police. They are human beings, they need to be taken care of, and those that are doing good, they need to be patted on the back in many ways, but those that are doing bad, they need to be really taken where they belong. There should be consequences. So these are the things that, as we go forward, as we improve and make sure that the situation works better. But one big thing, instructed by the President in 2 zonas, instructed by the panel, the panel of experts on the July issues, is that our policing is not embedded in the communities. There is a big gap. Is one huge thing that will have to work to improve the relationships between the communities and the police.
Thank you very much, Minister. That brings our press conference to a close. Just a couple of house rules, ladies and gentlemen of the media. As you know, myself and Colonel Mate are always available on our cell phones. And of course, the presentation for the crime sets are up on our website, as well as the speech. With that, thank you so much, General. Thank you so much, colleagues. Have a good day. I've sent you, you know me, I'm protected. I've sent you for everything. How are you doing? You've got your statement. First, send me your WhatsApp statement, send it down to my Malu, how were you just now? You are?